So Google recently updated their Sites product, which is a free app that comes with your Google account. It used to be kind of okay. Now it actually looks pretty good. There are still a few limitations on it. It's not anywhere near as good as if you was obviously to code it yourself. But if you just want to knock up a fairly decent website, embed some of your own code and do rolling slideshows, etc., it's pretty good. So if you log in with your Google account, there are a couple of ways that you can get to Google Sites. The first one is by just looking on the menu here, and you'll see Sites appears just here. Or you can type sites.google.com into the URL, and there you go. It takes you to the same place. Okay, so when you first get in, it'll look a little bit like this, and you'll see that it's asking us, do we want to use one of these ready-made templates, or do we want to start a blank one? Now, sometimes these templates are okay, but in all honesty, we're going to start a blank one because I think it's probably going to be less hassle and easier to start on a blank. All right, now you can just ignore all of these little helpful pop-ups that arrive because we're not really bothered about any of those. So this is what the interface looks like, similar to some of the other Google products that we've used before. We have an insert menu, and we can insert text boxes, images, things from Google Drive. We can embed some of our own code, such as YouTube clips and Google Maps and other bits of code. We've got some predefined layouts here that we can use to add content to the page. And then a little bit further down, we've got collapsible text and carousels and buttons and dividers and YouTube, and they are all there. So we can just add extra functionality to our individual pages. Now, when you get started, you have this one page which acts as your home page. So if you click on pages, you can see you've just got this one page here, and that is all. But you can add more pages as we go. And if you did want to choose a theme, there are some ready-made ones here, but I'm just going to go with a blank. So the first thing we need to think about is, what are we going to call it? Okay, so because ours is an art gallery theme, I'm just going to call it something like that, which means I can just find it again later. Once you click away from it, then it saves it. Now it also puts whatever you call the file name as the name for the actual gallery, and I'm not really wanting that there, so I can just change this here to something like that. Okay, page title is exactly what it is. It's the title for that page. So again, we can just call it something sensible. Now you'll notice that as I'm clicking on different sections, these little pop-up toolbars appear, and I can highlight any of these fonts. I can change them to something different. I can change the size, bold, italic, underline, and color can all be something different if I don't like what I've got. And text can become hyperlinks, and this is the usual, do you want it in the middle or left or right, and so on. And if we don't want it at all, then we can just delete it and come up with something completely different. Then we've got a couple of options here on the types. We can go for the banner, which is what we've got now. We can have just a title and not bother with the banner background at all. Or we can have quite a large background, but it does take up quite a chunk of that page. So I'm going to stick with the standard banner that comes with it. Now at the moment we've got a blank page. There's nothing on it. So what we could do is we could just start adding text boxes and images, or we can choose one of these predefined layouts over here. So if I just click here, you'll see it puts a block on, a little bit like how WordPress works. Over here we've got some options, so we can duplicate it if we want more than one of these types of blocks, We can change the emphasis, so you'll notice, it goes slightly grayer, or I can go for one that's a bit bluer, or I can insert my own image from somewhere else, or I can just have a standard white background. So if I want to add some text here, then obviously, this would become like the heading for the page. This would become, the sort of descriptive text on the page. And here is where you would upload any images that you wanted to appear from your images that you've saved earlier. Okay, and these are all resizable, and as you can see, you can sort of crop them and resize them. And if we click on crop, you get the option to zoom in and out and just have the bit of the image that you want on there. Images can be links like any other image on a website. If you decide you don't like the crop, you can just undo it. And if you don't want the image at all, well, then you can just remove it. Okay, there are a few more slight options here. So if you wanted to add alt text for screen readers, for people who are partially sighted, it's a good idea to do that. And if you wanted to add a caption to the image, it gives you the option to just kind of put a little caption down here underneath that image. Okay, so it's quite easy to use. It's reasonably straightforward. If you wanted to add some different layouts, then it really is just a case of dropping them in, and then when you preview the page, see, this is what you get. Okay, so you can see it's quite easy to build up a page in a fairly short amount of time. This preview also gives us the option to look at the website in different modes. So if we wanted to look what it would be like if we were to view it on a tablet or on a smartphone, then it gives us those options. And you can see it's a responsive template. Nothing's hanging off the side. Everything's now sitting neatly stacked underneath each other. Okay, so if we exit the preview, the next question, I guess, then is, well, one page is great, but what if we want some more pages? Well, we click on pages and we can just add down here a new page. Or I tend to use the 3-dot menu here, and then I add a sub page. And the reason I do that is because if you want to have it create this menu for you at the top here, by creating it as a sub page, it allows you to kind of jump backwards and forwards between the two pages, and when you preview it, it stays in place. So it's a nice way of allowing the people who are using your website a navigation system. Now, if I was to just move to the left of this navigation bar that's been created, this menu that's been created, and click the cog for the settings, you can see I can have it on the top or on the side, and I can have it transparent or white or black. So I've got a few options here as well. While we're in this section, have a look in the brand images. You've got the option to upload a logo and a fav icon. So what are those? Okay, so I'm going to find myself on here a logo that I have already created and saved using one of those free logo websites. And all you have to do is upload it, and there it is, there it appears. And again, we've got some alt text, so you might want to put something descriptive in there to help people with accessibility issues. Okay, and then the fav icon, I'm just going to use the same logo. And what the fav icon does is it creates just at the top of the page. Now, at the moment, you can see it's just a kind of purple Sites logo. If I look on some of my other ones, Drive's got the Drive logo, this cart website's got a shopping cart, PDF's got the PDF, and this is the fav icon, the bit that appears on the tab at the top. Now you don't see it in preview mode, but once you go ahead and hit publish, you'll see that it will appear, the logo will appear here on the top, and we can see it's also appeared here just to the left of the heading that we created earlier on. Okay, so if we want to add more pages, it really is just a case of going back to the home page and then adding some sub pages and just building it up by adding more and more pages, and then the menu gets automatically updated. If I want to change this bit here, all I need to do is click change image. There are some predefined ones that Google have provided for us, but if we don't like them, that's fine, because we get the option to upload one or to search for one specifically here if we know where there is one on a website, or we can go looking for one, or we can go to Google Drive and get one that we've already got saved in there. And it does tend to save it just for this one page. So if you wanted to have something slightly different on each page to let people know they're on, a different page now, then you could easily do that. Or for consistency's sake, you might just want to stick with the same thing on every single page. Okay, so it's fairly straightforward. That's pretty much all there is to setting up a basic website and adding some basic blocks. These are pretty much the same things that are on here, but instead of having them as layouts, they're just individual sections. So if I click on text box, you see in here it just gives me the option to just write some text. The same with images. I can again just upload an image or go and grab an image from somewhere else, and that gives me the option to just insert that image. And again, they're all resizable. These grid lines will help you to snap your image. And the other cool thing about these is if you grab this little, it's kind of like a set of 8, maybe 10 dots just there, and if you pick that up, you are able to kind of move things around a little bit as well, and place them side by side and next to each other and so on. So it's quite flexible, the things that you can do with these things, but I find these layouts are actually pretty decent for most things. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to moving things around, adding new content and so on. And in some later videos, I'll go through some of these embed code options that exist here, and some of these carousels and buttons and dividers, so that we can get a bit more functionality out of the whole thing. But for now, that was a kind of brief introduction to how the whole thing works. It automatically saves in Google Drive, and if you want to get back to it later, it really is just a case of going back to site, and you'll see it's saved here, ready for you to continue your editing of your website.